My name is Mark Miner. I am an investigative writer and author. In my travels, I've investigated many people and places. Watch as I seek out stories that are typically outside of the box of normal. I am the Seeker. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode. So, how many of you, by a show of hands, loves the story about Atlantis? Well, I got a treat for you today. So, up in Mount Shasta, California, there's a rumor that there is a Lemurian society living there. If you didn't know, Lemuria is rumored to be a lost continent that was located in the Pacific Ocean some time back. When I say sometime, I mean a long time back. Along with Atlantis, the continent was the most advanced in the world and housed people who were supposedly 8 feet tall. This belief grew stronger as some people who have climbed Mount Shasta have claimed to come across Lemurian people. For example, there was one guy who claimed to find an underground city inside the mountain and got to meet some of the Lemurian people. Because of this strong belief, there have been some cults created, and they claim that the Lemurians went to war with Atlantis and were forced to build a secret society inside Mount Shasta because their continent got destroyed. So first and foremost, what is a Lemurian? In 1864, zoologist Philip Sclater published an article about a classification of species called lemurs, in which he was puzzled by the presence of their fossils in both Madagascar and India, but not in Africa or the Middle East. He hypothesized that Madagascar and India had once been a part of a large continent, which was the first theory leading to the discovery of the ancient supercontinent Pangaea. Following this scientific discovery, the concept of Lemuria began to appear in the works of other scholars. Ernst Haeckel looked for the missing link in this area, proposing that the fossils of the first humans sunk under the sea, but some propose, the lost land went somewhere else. So let's fast forward to 1899, when Frederick Spencer Oliver published a book called A Dweller on Two Planets. This is a book which claimed that survivors from a sunken continent called Lemuria were living inside Mount Shasta. In the book, Lemurians lived in a series of complex tunnels beneath the mountain. Locals would sometimes see the Lemurians wandering outside the mountain in white robes. Then in 1931, Harvey Spencer Lewis, using the pseudonym Whizzer Spinel Curve, wrote a book about the hidden Lemurians of Mount Shasta. This book is widely regarded as a reason for the popularity for the legends of Lemurians in Mount Shasta. There have been many accounts of run-ins with Lemurians or other mysterious beings on Mount Shasta, none of which have been substantiated. The two early witness accounts created the large movement in the belief of Lemuria. So in 1904, British prospector J.C. Brown claimed to find an underground city 11 miles deep inside the mountain. It was full of gold, shields, and mummies, some of which were 10 feet tall. When he told his story to others, the group compiled an 80-person team to explore the mountain for the underground city. But on the day the team was to set out, J.C. Brown disappeared. In 1930s, Guy Ballard reported to meet Saint Germain on the mountain, which led to the founding of the I Am movement, which led to over 1 million followers in the late 1930s until Ballard's death. There are still many people that hang around Mount Shasta with beliefs of Lemuria. According to the Lemurian Connection, the history of Lemuria goes back to 4 million BC, let's put it that way, when the civilization ruled the earth. The continent of Lemuria was located in the Pacific Ocean and extended from the western part of the United States and Canada to the lands in the Indian Ocean and Madagascar. I believe at the beginning of the video, I put a map of that up there. So if you want to go back, you can look at that. Then 25,000 years ago, Atlantis and Lemuria were the two most highly civilized civilizations on Earth. Dissension between the two arose regarding the development and evolution of other civilizations. The Lemurians believed that the other less evolved cultures should be left alone to continue their evolution at their own pace according to their understandings and pathway, whereas the Atlanteans believed that less evolved cultures should be controlled by the two more evolved civilizations. Their arguments over ideologies resulted in several thermonuclear wars which weakened both continental plates. When the wars were over and the dust had settled, there were no winners, only death, destruction, and further debasing of the human spirit, to the point that both sides realized the futility of their behaviors. So the Lemurians decided to build a separate society inside Mount Shasta, since they lost their island, of course, where they would be safe from any disruptions on the surface of the earth. The city of Telos was built inside of Mount Shasta and was designed to house 200,000 Lemurians. Today it is believed by those that Telos houses 1.5 million Lemurians inside Mount Shasta. Modern day beliefs say that Lemuria can be felt and contacted through spiritual practices. The Lemurians were a highly evolved spiritual race, so they can be contacted through spiritual messages from believers. It is also believed that the Lemurians used crystals as communication tools. Modern day believers say that the Lemurians programmed these crystals to teach their messages of oneness and healing. So I'm going to pause here for a second. Why is it every time we talk about highly advanced civilizations, they always say that now they've evolved to telepathy, or they've evolved to not use vocal communication? I don't get that. I mean, if you're still capable of doing vocal communications, such as what I'm doing right now, why would you still not use that? I mean, you could use both. I mean, that would be awesome, but I just don't understand that. Okay. Anyways, so the physical appearance of Lemurians have been debated for years. Some believe Lemurians look like highly evolved humans, of course, while others believe that they have more animalistic qualities. What? Okay. Although it is universally believed that they are much taller than us surface dwellers. That's so weird to refer to ourselves that way. Today, many people go to Mount Shasta in search of Lemurians. Some stay with the communities that spiritually worship the Lemurians, while others simply return home. That's interesting. So, if you have ever been to Mount Shasta area in Northern California, you'll have to admit that there is a palpable energy there and that it's often felt by everyone. However, in the end, it's easy to admit there is something about Mount Shasta. I have to agree with this. I will agree with this. I have traveled through Mount Shasta many times in my life, and every time I go through there, it's weird because here's the weird thing about California when you travel on I-5, which I-5 goes right through Mount Shasta. So say you're going from north to south. You go from Weed, California, which is total desert. It's just a wasteland, to Mount Shasta, which is forested. It looks like Oregon and Washington. It's just forested. It's just beautiful. It's wet. It's just green. It's beautiful. And then once you get past Mount Shasta, you're in flatlands again. That's just dry. And so there's that. There's the aesthetics on that. But then you also feel this energy. I don't know how to explain it. Every time I go through Mount Shasta, I pull over and I have like a little break there because I get like when I'm low on energy and I'm down and I'm depressed or whatever, I tend to go in the mountains to get my energy, to get it from the mountains and the trees and nature. And Mount Shasta does that for me really quick. There's something about that area. I'll give it that. But without any evidence, relying on only personal accounts, I think the land Lemuria is one that lives in our minds and not in the underground tunnels of Mount Shasta. I mean, could there be a possibility that there's an underground city in Mount Shasta? Of course. I mean, clearly you see the pictures that I provided with this video. People have found doorways, people have found these tunnels. The only thing that they have not found is the Lemurians. There have only been a few accounts of people who have actually met Lemurians. There have been millions of people who have said that they've communicated with Lemurians. Of course, because we all know stronger things have happened and been proven. Okay, so that's a pretty bold statement. So we do know that there's other things out there that is beyond the realm of possibility, um, but we've proven it. Want an example? In the early 1900s, a man once went up into an Asian mountain area, and he saw a black and white bear. And of course, he didn't take any pictures of it or anything. It was pretty early in those days. And he went and told everybody about it. People laughed at him. Other people were intrigued, and so they went up, and a few others saw it, but they discounted those accounts because they don't believe that there's such thing as a black and white bear. And so go 40, 50, 60 years later, they, adventurers and discoverers and explorers found panda bears, and they proved these people right. So that little example tells you that, is there a possibility? Of course. You should never close your mind off. Okay. So is there a possibility that there was a land of Lemuria? Of course. There has to be. There is a strong possibility. So if you're going to sit there and say that you believe that there's evidence that Atlantis was around, then you have to say that there have been other civilizations as well. It couldn't just have monopolized in one civilization. But then you have to take an account of continental shifts, which has been proven to happen. I mean, that is science. That right there has been proven. So, have we lost continents? Have we lost the technology? I argue with this with a bunch of people who say that we only get smarter the more we evolve. I don't think that's true at all. I believe that with mathematics, architecture, science, spirituality, there have been civilizations in the past that are much more advanced than we are, much more intelligent. Good example is the pyramids in Egypt, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, I think it's called. Those three pyramids. Let's just take those. To this day, we cannot replicate that. There's no way. Even with all our technology and machinery, we still cannot replicate that. That's how highly advanced these people were. We don't even know how long it took to build the pyramids or how they did it. Okay? That's incredible. Think about that for a minute. Just kind of let that soak in. This is how advanced and intellectual these people were back then. Not just the Egyptians. Let's look at the Mayan, the Aztecs, the Olmecs. People always talk about the Mayans and the Aztecs. Don't ever forget about the Olmecs. Okay? Let's talk about, oh, of course, I'm not going to remember their name. It's the Indians in Arizona that built cities on the side of mountains. How they got up there, I don't know. But they carved whole cities out of rock into the side of a mountain. How did they do that? I mean, just chisel and hammer? Really? Do you know how long that would take? I mean, there are multitude of civilizations out there that have been way more advanced. So what happened to them? Well, there's only theories. We can only hypothesize on what happened to them. But my feeling is that it's kind of like that bully in grade school. When you're smart and you're kind of nerdy, that bully will eyeball you and run right towards you and just pick on you and try to destroy you spiritually, if not physically. I think that's what society does. This is what groups do. I mean, just look at our history, okay? We have the tendency, as humans, have the tendency to destroy things. We are like locusts in a lot of ways. We come and destroy, okay? We build, 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 we advance, and then another group comes along and destroys that. Whether it's by giving smallpox, whether it's by enslaving, whether it's by, just tearing down whole cities. Again, let's go back to Egypt, okay? So there was one woman who reigned as queen and slash king. So that was Cleopatra. But do you see any of her pictures on any walls or any hieroglyphs about her? No, because all the other kings after her scratched out her pictures because they just don't want a woman to rule. It's just as basic as that. But it's true, and that's history, but they destroyed that so that we can't look back on it and see, what was going on with her. Excuse me. I think I said Cleopatra, but I think I mean Nefertiti. I'm not quite sure about that, so I'm kind of just speaking out my left ear right now. But anyways, it's true. It's one of those queens. Anyways, so I think that what happens is like the Mayans got it right. Remember in 2012 when they said that this Mayan wheel said that the world was going to end? That's not how the Mayans worked. Okay, I knew it from get-go when it first came out in 2012. In December, the world's going to end. I kind of just laughed at that because I've always been interested in the Mayans. And the Mayans, what they do is they understood that the energies that is us and the world and everything around us, what happens is it resets. It changes over and restarts over. The energies, not people, place, things, energies. And that's what that wheel was about. So in 2012, we had a shift of energy, and it's geared towards making a bigger and better world, or whatever. Or we may just destroy ourselves. Who knows? It could be any kind of era in the such. However, it started in 2012. So let's kind of round it back to the Lemurians. So could a continent exist? Yes. Could they have had a disagreement with another highly advanced civilization, i.e., Atlantis, and destroyed each other? Yes. As humans are good about that. Do I believe that Lemurians were an alien race? No. I don't believe the Atlanteans were an alien race. I don't believe the Mayans were an ancient alien race. I don't, Sumerians, Egyptians, I don't believe any of that. I believe they were all human, but we have evolved. And so we look back on them and we think they had to have been alien because they were taller than us, they were smarter than us, and we should be smarter than them and taller than them and more capable of them. Nope, nope, that's not true. You see what happens when we bring in technology? It makes us soft. And this is what happens with civilizations, which is what think happened with the Lemurians and Atlanteans and whatever other culture that's out there that has crumbled and fell outside of, outside forces. But until any tangible evidence arises, we only have our stories, right? So we only have our theories and our hypotheses and our ideas, but we're basing those theories and hypotheses and ideas off something substantial. We know something's there. We know. We just know. And we have to figure it out. And that takes time. So, do I believe that there is an ancient race that lives inside Mount Shasta? Possibly. Possibly. I'm intrigued with the area. After reading this, the explorer in me wanted to just get into my Forerunner and drive down there and just camp out and just hike it and see if I can find anything. That's I've always been like that. So I can't do that because I got to work and the such. But it intrigues me. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that there is an ancient civilization inside Mount Shasta? I mean, you've seen the pictures where there's tunnels and they found doorways and the such. There's those personal accounts. There is that odd feeling, that odd energy in the area. I will give you that. There have been a lot of UFO sightings in the area. Um, could be for many reasons, but still, there's been a lot. There's been a lot of anomalies in the skies and on the ground in that area. It's a very, very interesting area, very secretive area. I mean, it's almost like when you walk in the area, you're missing something and you just want to find out what it is. So, anyways, so it's comment time, everybody. So let's talk about this. So, do you believe that there could be an ancient culture? Let me know. Have you had any kind of experience with something in this realm, whether it be in Washington, Oregon, California, or elsewhere? I mean, you guys are all over the country. Tell me, have you had any kind of experience with this? Have you seen a UFO? Have you seen an alien? Have you seen people coming up out of the ground? I would love to hear your comments on this. Or even if you want to just comment on what you believe or what you theorize, I would love to hear that. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end this episode here. I've kind of talked your ear off. So remember, guys, stay weird and look forward towards that next adventure. And we will learn more about who we are and where we came from. All right. See you guys.
Thank you.